common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
The Pentagon coming out today saying it's extremely dangerous and concerning that North Korea is sending troops to Russia. Obviously, this is enormous. And joining us now is KT McFarland, Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump. KT, how concerning is this, and how much does this kind of amp up the war? Because this is, of course, for Russia to fight against Ukraine in their war against Ukraine.
Yeah, this is a major escalation, and it's bad for the following reasons. It shows that the alliance between Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea is a cemented alliance. You know, they're now fighting on each other's territory. They were, prior to this, just selling each other weapons, but now they're actually fighting together. The knock-on effect of this is if you're South Korea and you're seeing that the North Korean troops are now fighting in Ukraine, getting training, having that relationship with Russia, you've got to think, oh, gosh, what does this do for the North-South Korea military balance? But the other thing is it's just escalating. So now we have North Korean troops fighting in Ukraine. The next step will be South Korea will probably sell weapons to Ukraine on the other side, to the Ukraine side, and let them use those weapons for lethal purposes. And it's like a slow incremental escalation. And before you know it, we are really in a world war because countries from all parts of the world are all of a sudden united together on opposite sides of the fence fighting in Ukraine. That's why Donald Trump is so smart to say we've got to end this. We've got to end this now. We've got to end this at the negotiating table because Ukraine is not going to win this war. It's a war of attrition, and Ukraine is a smaller country up against a much bigger country with unlimited resources.
And KT, as all of this is happening, and we're watching just such waffling at the White House. President Biden came out yesterday. He just looked really feeble. You've got Kamala Harris, who's out on the campaign trail. It feels like the world is like rudderless. How concerned are you seeing what's going on in the White House and this serious stuff is going on the world stage?
Well, it's very concerning except for one bright spot, and that's Israel. I think because the Biden-Harris administration was trying to hold Israel back at every step, whether it was to fight against Hamas, to fight against Hezbollah. And at a certain point, Israel just said, look, we got to protect ourselves by ourselves, and we're just going to go it alone and do what we're going to do. And that's why Israel was so successful. Israel's now killed off all of the major leaders of Hezbollah and Hamas.
They just took out the next one. Did you see that, KT? They just took out the next one.
They just took out another one today. And if you're the leaders in Tehran, you've got to think, yikes, are we next? So I think that because of the Biden-Harris incompetence, in a funny way, it led to Israel's greater achievements and has put a very different complexion on the Middle East. Iran is on the run now.
Absolutely. KT McFarland. Judge Weinberg has a question.
KT, welcome back. Let me ask you this question. How concerned are you about the leak of the intelligence information about Israeli plans against Iran?
You can't underscore how serious this is. This was basically Israel's war plan against Iran. And it leaked from the U.S., and it leaked from a woman, reportedly from a woman, who has been in close contact with Iran, the Iranian government, for years, going back to the Obama administration. Why she's still a senior official at the Pentagon is just, it defies imagination. She's a woman who has access to the most secret intelligence that the United States has, and Israel has shared that intelligence, and that woman has leaked it to the world and to Iran.
Rudy Washington.
Yes, KT. 4 or 5 years ago, it came out that if Iran was to go nuclear, Saudi Arabia had already cut their deal. I think it was with India to buy a nuclear bomb. Now we know last week a questionable earthquake in Iran. This administration will never tell us the truth. Now you see the 12,000 North Koreans. You're seeing a consolidation of what we call the axis of evil. We're truly sleepwalking into a major war. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the reason that it's important to point out it looked like an earthquake. Well, to test a nuclear weapon, you don't test it out in the atmosphere. Everybody knows you're testing it. If you test it underground and you make it look like it's an earthquake, you kind of get away with it. And that's the presumption of what Iran is doing now, is it testing weapons.
And KT, you would know this. because it happened in the 90s when both India and Pakistan went nuclear. It presented the same way and caught the CIA off guard completely.
Yes, and you're right to say what the Saudis have said. The Saudis have said if Iran gets nuclear weapons, we're going to get some too, and we're going to buy them. And chances are they have already paid for them, probably from Pakistan, but who knows from where? Maybe even from North Korea. So we are now at a point where everything seems to be escalating all at once. You know, whether it's Iran fighting Israel, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's China now encircling Taiwan, saying that it has the ability to shut down Taiwan. It's all these things at once, and we're in a very scary time because, as you point out, who's in charge in Washington? Who knows?
Nobody's in charge.
Nobody's
in charge. The political appointees and the political influences are in charge. KT, have you heard that Putin was hosting a financial conference with the BRICS countries? And let's tell the people, the BRICS countries are which?
Those are... Okay, to you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's
Brazil, Iran,
China,
South Africa.
It's
South
all the
Africa. And what's the R stand for?
And more to join.
Yes.
And what they're trying to do is set up an alternative currency and trading system to the United States and the West. They're not successful so far because these economies aren't as strong as ours. In fact, the United States is probably the most strongest economy in the world right now, despite the incompetence of the administration.
And I pointed out a couple of weeks ago that we but Saudi Arabia walked away from the petrodollar, which propped us up, really.
Yeah, absolutely. KT, thank you very much.
Thank you,
really
KT.
great to have you here, KT. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.